The question isn't really whether agentic commerce is real. That was kind of settled this week. The question is what it means for your website. So the infrastructure is live, the payments work, the traffic is surging, and your board is probably about to ask the question. While 58% of shoppers are now using AI tools to research products, only 17% of shoppers actually feel comfortable completing a purchase itself through the AI agent. There's layers to this. This is kind of like full automation, like AI agent doing the purchase. There's a 41% trust gap between discovery and checkout. A survey of 4,500 shoppers across 5 countries, so it's a decent sample size. But yeah, there's a 41% difference between those who are researching and those who feel comfortable using an agent to check out. Now, you can look at that in 2 ways. You can look at that as a pro or a con. It's a low percentage. It has some ground to make up. 17% isn't much of the market. 2, you can think, like, that wasn't there a year ago. AI agent trust is increasing rapidly. And that is 17% of your audience that you should be catering for, which is probably the way I'd lean, especially considering the pace at which this is ramping up. So Bloomberg released this article that with the headline, "Online shopping could be AI's next victim." Not someday, not eventually, the next. This comes just after Google and Shopify launched their universal commerce protocol. That was a little over a month ago, which allows AI agents to browse, select, buy products without ever visiting your website. MasterCard completed New Zealand's first authenticated agentic transaction, a real payment processed by a bot with a real debit card. And yeah, Debenhams piloted their Agentic AI commerce PayPal integration. They're the first UK retailer to do so with the PayPal app. Meanwhile, Etsy and Wayfair went shoppable inside Google's AI mode, so you can buy without ever leaving the search engine itself, or the AI search itself. And most of that was just this past week, essentially, which is, I mean, it's wild. The pace of change is immense. And yeah, there's some real excitement brewing in this space because of, well, a few of the things I'm going to dig into today. But yeah, so the numbers behind this shift. So AI-driven retail traffic grew 4,700% year on year as of July 2025. Just going to change the layout so you can see me too. All right. McKinsey estimates agentic commerce could redirect 3 to 5 trillion in global retail spend by 2030. But the bit that nobody's really talking about is that essentially 58% of shoppers are now using AI tools to research products. I did this myself the other day. I want to redo the insulation in my attic, so I did a bit of deep research with Gemini as to the how to do it. Essentially, I've got a bit of a problem. I've got a bit of damp in my attic that I want to sort out. And it went through everything. It went through ventilation, safety gear, loft legs I'd need to get it to the kind of height that I want in terms of insulation. The insulation I should use, moisture-resistant boarding, all of those things. It showed me kind of where I could buy it locally, what was cheapest, what made most sense. I took some photos of the space to assess the floor space, and it was able to figure that out quite accurately. I actually checked it with tape measure. And then, yeah, I went to the builder's measurements itself, and I started taking photos of the shelves. Now, normally what I do is I sit there and I go through and try and find like the particular screws I needed and the particular boards and everything else. I just took photos, and AI told me which shelf, which item I was looking for, which, as an aside, is making me seriously consider buying some smart glasses or something. But it's an amazing experience. Like, I was sorted in no time for what I needed, and I've got all this stuff arriving tomorrow. So it's like, yeah, it's interesting way of shopping, and definitely I'm going to be doing that again. While 58% of shoppers are now using AI tools to research products, only 17% of shoppers actually feel comfortable completing a purchase itself through the AI agent. And this is, there's layers to this. This is kind of like full automation, like AI agent doing the purchase. So there is essentially, there's a 41% trust gap between discovery and checkout. So yeah, that's a survey of 4,500 shoppers across 5 countries, so it's a decent sample size. But yeah, there's a 41% difference between those who are researching and those who feel comfortable using an agent to check out. Now, you can look at that in two ways. You can look at that as a pro or a con. One, that it's a low percentage. It has some ground to make up. 17% isn't much of the market. Two, you can think that wasn't there a year ago. AI agent trust is increasing rapidly, and that is 17% of your audience that you should be catering for, which is probably the way I'd lean, especially considering the pace at which this is ramping up. So one of the key bits is that 95% of shoppers still perform at least one manual verification step before buying. So yeah, it's not entirely AI driven, but they're definitely AI assisted. 58% of shopping is using AI tools. There is the key stat. They're using those tools to research their products. This agentic commerce isn't coming. It's arrived now. The infrastructure is live. The protocols are published. Real money is changing hands. But this checkout gap means that the battlefield isn't really inside the AI. It's on your website and after the AI sends them to you. So there are some gaps there that we can fill. So just bring up the next thing. So today we are breaking down what agentic commerce actually is, why this week really matters, all of these things that happened this week. Yeah, they're big announcements, and definitely a turning point for AI. But I think we're going to see some rapid adoption now as these things get integrated into a lot of the enterprise retailers first, and then moving on to the smaller retailers. So AI natives would probably be the first ones to pick it up. But so what we're going to talk about is kind of what agentic commerce is, why all this matters, the trust gap, why AI wins that discovery but loses on checkout, and what your website needs to change to win that in that agentic world. So if you're watching and you're interested in these topics, and I'll drop a newsletter we have into the chat. So it covers essentially topics like this, and strategies and tips and tricks to get this integrated into your website. So there we go. So that's in the chat. And it's weekly practical D2C strategy on kind of how to do these things. So okay, let's go. So what happened this week and why it matters? Essentially, this is the week that agentic commerce really went live. The infrastructure is no longer theoretical. We've got the Universal Commerce Protocol from Google. Essentially, what that does is an open standard for AI agents to transact with any merchant. So the agent itself can place and purchase things. Now, obviously, there are layers to that. You need to give it permission to do so and that sort of thing, but it is now a more integrated and automated solution for AI agents to buy things on your website. So it's been co-developed with Etsy, Wayfair, Target, Walmart, endorsed by Visa, MasterCard, Stripe, American Express, and Best Buy. It's not a pilot program. It's the industry agreeing how commerce is going to work from now on. So this is a new avenue essentially for sales. So it is essentially, you got the payment rails there. So MasterCard launching their agent pay payment infrastructure. It's purpose built for AI agents. You've got agentic tokens which tie in the AI agents to individual users, safeguarding payment credentials. You've got New Zealand completing that first authenticated transaction using a real debit card, I think it was cinema tickets, real money, changing hands there, if you can call an agent in hand. And then MasterCard's AI Agent Suite launching in Q2, which is backed by 4,000 global advisors or something. So these are big investments in this area and the expected trajectory for e-commerce. And then you've got the checkout areas. Debenhams Group became the first UK retailer to pilot that agentic AI checkout inside PayPal I mentioned. You've got shoppers basically saying natural language prompts to the website. The agent scans their profile, matches budget and preferences, and asks follow-up questions and locates stock. So you've got kind of Boohoo, Boohoo Man, Aaron Millen, and Pretty Little Thing all covered there. You got 16% of the Debenhams Group's sales already processed through PayPal anyway. So this extends that relationship into AI. And then ChatGPT now has a live checkout in the US. So you've got 50 million shopping queries a day on that platform flowing through the platform, where essentially you can buy without ever leaving the ChatGPT website. And Google AI Mode is already doing this in the US as well. So Amazon has blocked officially OpenAI's crawlers. So your competitor selling only through Amazon doesn't actually exist in the 50 million daily shopping queries on ChatGPT, but your Shopify store, if you've got one, does. So that's where these new protocols are going to come in. So the agentic shift is already measurable. I'm just going to change tab here. Here we go. So AI referred retail traffic is exploding. So we've got some data here from Adobe's Digital Insights report, tracking over 1 trillion visits to its US retail sites. It gives an indication. Retail AI traffic grew 693% year on year during holiday of 2025. And in November alone, it was 769% year on year. AI revenue per visit surged 254%. So very important stat there. So that is, essentially you've got AI enabled traffic is essentially earning more. So AI referrals now convert 31% higher than non-AI sources. And 12 months ago, where non-AI visits were worth 51% more, that's now completely reversed, and AI is now essentially dominating this area. AI referred users spend 45% longer per visit. So what this means is essentially that they've done their research on the AI platforms. They know what they're looking for. So when they come to your site, they're already much further down the funnel. So they know you're the brand that they want to go with, essentially, and they're most likely going to check out as long as you can kind of handle them well. And then so AI users spend 45% longer per visit. They view 13% more pages, and they bounce 33% less. So you can see that they're more engaged with the destination. And this isn't theoretical. In the US, Walmart's AI assistant already drives 35% bigger baskets. Amazon's Rufus platform generated $12 billion in incremental sales. Those are closed ecosystems. They only recommend their own products. The open version, where an AI agent shops your website, is already live through Google AI Mode and expanding through ChatGPT with that Universal Payments Protocol. It's multi-platform. It's a big step. Consumer behavior has also shifted along with this. 1/3 of shoppers used AI assistants during that holiday period. 45% turned to AI for inspiration before shopping or discovery. Interesting. I'm in that group. And 41% begin leveraging LLMs prior to their shopping journey. 81% reported improved shopping experience from AI assistants, and 64% say they're using AI more than they used to before, essentially. Sorry, I missed two there. 65% feel more confident in purchases after getting AI help, and 68% are less likely to return. It's all positive stuff, essentially, for the quality of traffic that's being fed through from these LLMs. So a lot of stats there to run through, but essentially what it means is LLM traffic is more qualified, better quality, and they're more likely to purchase something if they're on your site. So this isn't early adopters anymore. This is mainstream behavior. Bloomberg is as we saw is telling your board about this. So it's essentially becoming very, very mainstream in getting raised up the chain to the C-level execs. So they're fully aware of this and aware that they now need to act. And Bloomberg's Andrea Foster wrote, since the dawn of retail, merchants' primary job has been to tempt human shoppers. Now they have a new customer to woo, which is the bots, which I think sums up nicely. And why this matters for you specifically means if your board reads Bloomberg, they're going to ask you about this tomorrow morning or this morning. And if you're watching this on catch up on a Sunday night or something because you Googled agentic commerce, what does it mean? Well, you're in the right place. And you can see why this is now so important to act on. 9 out of 10 sales teams are already betting on AI agents to hit their 2026 targets. Google's AI mode has 75 million daily active users. There's a lot of stats I'm running off here, but this is the backing that's going to get that investment essentially. So, and Shopify opened its catalog infrastructure to brands not on Shopify through a new Agentic plan, and it means that you can now sell through AI channels without a Shopify store. So the question isn't really whether agentic commerce is real. That was kind of settled this week. The question is what it means for your website. So the infrastructure is live, the payments work, the traffic is surging, and your board is probably about to ask the questions. I'm going to add our newsletter in the chat, which covers topics like this regularly. We do a weekly update. So if you missed the newsletter, I'll just drop it in there again. So that's in the chat. And let's dig into the part that actually matters for your revenue. So this is the trust gap that I was talking about. Why AI wins that discovery but loses on checkout. It's that 41% point gap. It's exciting headline numbers when you look at the 58%, but there's a problem hiding there inside them. So that survey of 4,500 marketplace shoppers across kind of US, UK, France, Germany, and the Netherlands, there were 58% that had used AI tools to research their products. 37% had started their purchase journey through the AI assistant. But only 17% feel comfortable completing that checkout. Now, the baseline conversion rate for AI agents, if you use ChatGPT as an example, is 2%. It's 2% of visitors essentially that are converting at the moment. Compare that to your website's conversion rate. An average site converts at about 2.9% on mobile. AI agents are converting worse than on a bad website, but they are still being discovered. So there's a large amount there eventually being fed through. So there is a gap there in terms of how well the conversion is being handled. And that's simply because we just haven't integrated the infrastructure yet, but it's there. So whoever integrates it first is going to be the ones to take that advantage. So remember that people still want to buy stuff. So the gap is actually on site, on the DTC sites themselves, making them better readable to the LLMs and having better on-site agentic experiences as well, and enabling them to interact with the external LLMs usually for more commodity products, but definitely for some repeat purchases and standard products you might sell. So there is a bit of a burden with verification. So let me just bring this up. So that was the trust gap. And then, so verification. So 95% of consumers perform at least one manual verification step before they click buy after an AI recommendation. I definitely did this myself because what I found was so I got all the recommendations for cost of products, but depending on for my installation in my attic, but depending on the platform I was interacting with, they had minimum basket orders, and some of the delivery fees were like £45 plus. So when I factored that in, it was actually cheaper to go to some other platforms for some of the products as well. So I was using it as kind of a bit of a case study myself while I was doing it to kind of understand how this would go. But so it was interesting to see that was the difference. But for every minute essentially saved in AI research, you've now got customers spending another minute essentially verifying the AI outputs at the moment. So the trust isn't quite there yet. And it does create a bit of a conversion ceiling, but we already know that traffic is more likely to convert. They're just spending more time on site. So 60% of AI-powered searches are zero-click. So users are getting summaries without ever visiting your site as well. So that's something to keep in mind, is that they do trust the information to a certain extent. But when money's involved, there's maybe an extra layer there of decisioning that's being acted upon. So this verification burden means that AI is excellent at the top of the funnel and is a little bit terrible at the bottom. So that's your opportunity to really change things and add some layers in there with essentially give people the confidence to check out. So trust varies dramatically by task, and I'm going to show you what this means essentially. So when it's things like analytical support, so things like price comparison, research, data gathering, 65% trust AI for that analytical support. For advisory services, so product recommendations, personalized suggestions, 44% trust those recommendations. But this is really, it's down to how good your recommendations are, really. Now, to date, a lot of those have struggled with traditional chat interfaces that were more decision tree style and not that good. So that has, I think, damaged that reputation a little bit. But that is trust essentially that will come back over the next couple of years. I think as these AIs get more integrated into websites and into these support services. The 14% already, they trust AI for executive agency, autonomous purchases, buying without oversight. So there's a big difference there between the two, between analytical support and executive agency, a 51-point difference between the two. It does depend on the task, essentially. Now, I mentioned Gen Z last week, I think it was. Those 70% are using AI for shopping, but only 12% trust it to buy without oversight. The trust gap is there across every generation, and that's something we're going to have to remedy. From the Gen Z data, so 70% of Gen Z will use AI tools for shopping, but only 32% are comfortable with agents making purchases, and only the 12% trust it to buy without oversight. So they are the most AI native generation, and even they don't trust the bots with money yet. But this is quickly changing. If you think that's 14% or 12% already, so within a year you've already got that large portion of the market. Are you catering for them? Is really the way to look at this. So but Perplexity just pulled all of their advertising as well. So from their platform, because their own users said ads made them doubt every recommendation. And that is the trust gap in action. 58% are researching with AI, 70% are buying. The platforms know this is a problem. Your website is where that trust essentially gets rebuilt. So it's a big gap there to fill. So Amazon, they just walk out. They also removed that technology from their stores. So they built the most advanced frictionless checkout in history, and they quietly removed it from most of their stores. They replaced it with something else. They removed that transaction friction. Removing the transaction friction paradoxically increases that trust friction. There was a story about this years ago where essentially, I think it was Amazon who made their checkout so fast that essentially it was done in like, when you click pay with your credit card, it was done in under a second or something. But because the transaction had completed so quickly, users didn't actually believe that the transaction had completed. So there was a bit of back and forth as to how good that change request obviously went through, and then they added up and adding a artificial slowdown in the checkout process to make it look like more was going on. But I can't remember if it was Amazon. I think it was years ago now. But yes, customers need that certainty of a tangible checkout moment, and the psychological closure of confirming a purchase matters more than the convenience of skipping it. Amazon spent billions essentially proving that people actually want to click a buy button. So it's probably the most expensive UX test in history. It applies directly to agentic commerce. AI can discover products brilliantly. It can compare and recommend intelligently. But the moment of, yes, buy this with my money, it still needs to feel human. And there's also, there's the bits I mentioned last week around kind of what your brand stands for. Are you carbon neutral? Your stance? Are you B Corp certified? All of those things that essentially show who you are as a brand that don't really get relayed through to these LLMs at the moment. And then the 2% conversion rate from ChatGPT isn't about AI accuracy. It's about that psychological closure. So even though it's worse than current mobile checkout rates, it's there is just a layer of trust that needs to be built there. So don't worry too much about AI nicking all the sales, because there's going to be a slow progression there. I think they probably will get better at it over time, but at the moment, customers still want to verify purchases on site. What's happening though is this, it's lower down the funnel. So the opportunity isn't really selling through the AI agents, not quite yet, not for complex products anyway. not for high value purchases and not for anything requiring a high level of trust. If it's commodity purchases, if it's regular recurring subscriptions, that sort of thing, standard products lines, those are probably things to be feeding through the LLMs. AI agents will increasingly be that discovery layer. They'll research, they'll do the comparison, they'll recommend on behalf of your customers. Yeah, 95% of those customers will then come to your website to verify that behavior and then buy on your website. So so we've got the AI discovery, we've got the AI recommendation. There is that trust gap right there, which means they end up on your website anyway. So brands that win are those websites who convert that AI referred traffic. It's high quality traffic. If you can't convert that, then something is wrong on your website. Retail Gazette as well cited us on this week, which we were quite proud of as a team. Yeah, we said UK retailers are seeing higher conversion rates when using conversational AI search. I will take that article as well. If anyone is interested, I'll drop that in the chat as well. So it is in there. The keyword for this is essentially in this article, it's on site. Essentially, the conversion happens on your site, not on ChatGPT. There's a big difference here, and proud moment here for the team and for getting featured on the front page of Retail Gazette. That was a good moment having that cited. So that's that article's in the chat if you want to have a look. Front page news, proud moment, very happy. So on to the next thing. So competitor readiness. The competitive threat isn't really that AI agents will replace your website. It's that AI agents will recommend your competitors instead of you. So how they choose what to recommend, I've got a list here. So you've got structured product data. So can the agent read your catalog itself? And I'll dig into this in a minute. You've got things like review quality and volume, like is your data current? Is it that you've got good, I suppose, referrals from customers on your site? It's those reviews essentially, and reviews offsite as well, pointing to your site that show trust and can build that trust as a kind of a third party view. You've got things like your return policy clarity. Can the AI agent explain it easily? And then things like site speed and mobile first checkout. Like, can the agent send traffic there confidently and know that they can check out? They are going to assess these things before citing you. If your competitor's data is cleaner, their reviews are better, the site is faster, the AI agent's going to recommend them, and you'll never even know that you lost that customer. Essentially, they went to your competitor's website instead of yours. So I've got some sample answers here as to what's typical at the moment. A lot of sites haven't yet done this level of including those items on site. And if your competitor is including them all, guess who's going to be recommended? So what your website needs to do about it. So there's 3 priorities really, which is feed the agents, win the visit, and then convert with intelligence. So the framework is pretty straightforward. You can't really control what the AI agents do, but you can control 3 things: what they find when they look at you, and what happens when they send someone to your site, and how intelligently your site converts that visitor. So priority 1 is feed the agents, which is basically making your site AI readable. This is essentially you've got AI agents that can only recommend what they can read. Most e-commerce sites are built for human eyes, not AI comprehension. But we have methods already for bots to understand sites, which essentially is these JSON schemas, which we can drop into sites for numerous reasons. This products are just one of the examples of JSON schema. But that structured data markup, you want to have that on every product page and include everything in there, from the reviews, the pricing, the availability, have it updated in real time. You want clean, consistent product descriptions. So not really loads of marketing copy, but factual, comparable attributes. You want your FAQ pages structured as well as Q&A pairs, so AI agents can extract those directly. And in your blog articles, they need to be comprehensive, so that you want to be the go-to source for that information. And so make sure you're including Q&A in there as well. Make sure you've got lots of citations, links to where that information came from if you're quoting stats. You want your return and shipping policies in a machine readable format, and all of this inventory, it has to be up to date with pricing. Essentially, if there's stale data, AI agents are going to learn not to trust your site. Cool. So yes, getting started with the Universal Commerce Protocol on Google. So this Google Shopify Universal Commerce Protocol requires a product catalog accessible via API. You want your real-time pricing and availability, standardized product attributes, and clean fulfillment and return data. So it's the same thing there essentially for making it clean and readable. As some quick wins, you can audit some of your schema markup this week. You can use Google's rich results test. I've got an example here from River Island. So you essentially just drop in the URL and say go, and it will basically test your site, see what it can find. And you can see on this one, it found the schema. There is a schema in here. There you can see this is actually River Island. Sorry, River Island, if you're watching, but essentially there, yeah, you've got a couple of issues there you might want to look at. But yeah, it's an easy way to see how readable is your site to the bots. And then, yeah, take your data, compare it against your top 3 competitors, make sure yours is better or as good. And then, yeah, fix your most viewed 50 product pages first, like your top 50 products, fix those pages first. Yeah. And yeah, when you, and the other thing is basically once those people get on site, you want to make it easy for users themselves to get and convert that traffic as well. So when, for example, we built a real-time search for Amazon, their search usage jumped from about, I think it was 6 to 1,000 searches per day. The foundation for that was really good structured data with clean, accessible product information. Like if you don't have that, no AI layer is going to work. And that's just on-site search. You want to be doing the same thing for talking to these LLMs as well, making sure you've got that really nice, clean data tested regularly as well. Obviously, these things do break over time. It's not something that's going to be immediately obvious. You can't see it when you're on site. So you're going to want to set up off-site automated tests with your engineering team to make sure these things are correct and maintained, and even have them, because of the importance, I would say, even have them covered by SLA, so that essentially they're being tested on a regular basis. Because if they go offline, then so do your orders. So really important. Cool. So this is where it's kind of starting to be a bit less straightforward. So if you want to make your entire product catalog AI accessible, readable while keeping your existing site running, it's an engineering challenge. It's not really a marketing task. If you're thinking this makes sense, but we don't have the bandwidth to figure this out, we do run AI audits for brands like yours where we can essentially go through and audit these sites and see kind of what your top opportunities are. I'll drop a link in the chat if you're interested in that. If it's an application only, if you do qualify, we'll do a 30-minute deep dive into what you're actually working with and understand your goals and tell you exactly what is realistic as well. So links in the chat if you're interested. So moving on to the AI referred visitors. AI referred visitors behave differently from organic and paid traffic. And in Adobe's data, they said that essentially they spend 45% longer time per visit, and they view 13% more pages. They bounce 33% less, and they convert 31% higher than non-AI traffic. They are also 68% less to return a product. So these are high intent, pre-researched visitors. They've already done their comparison off-site on the LLMs, and they're on your site now to verify that information is correct and buy. And your job is not to lose them. So same way as I dropped off one of those trade sites when the shopping delivery fee was too high for what I was ordering, I ended up going to a competitor. Same thing. They're coming to validate that information and make sure it's correct. They may have a couple of brands that they've been referenced. So you want to see how you're comparing yourselves to, like, do a regular comparison of your products and your fees and your data to your competitors as well. So there's a few key things that really They will ruin those AI referred conversions and those users will bounce. Number one is, of course, slow page load. So slow page load. 53% won't wait 3 seconds. And that's the thing with Google report, I think it was. And inconsistent information. So if the product description doesn't match what the AI told them, and this is probably going to be due to a mismatch between what's on page and what's in your JSON data, your schemas. So yeah, you want to make sure that's consistent. If you've got a poor mobile experience, and I spoke about this last week if you're interested in that video. So essentially, you've got a higher mobile cart abandonment on mobile at the moment. So mobile is 86% abandonment, whereas desktop is 70%. That's a UX and speed problem, really. It's the users not willing to check out because things are taking too long or it's too difficult to do on a mobile device. So, and they're not having conversational support. So they had a conversation with an AI to get on your site. They're now back to browsing menus. You want that experience to continue through that process. So you arrived at this site because you clicked on this link to this page. We start tracking that understanding of what the user is looking for. You then looked at these products, you looked at those videos, you browsed down the page. We're now getting a bit of an understanding. You then searched for maybe a very specific search term with a bit of context in it. We keep that context and we build this progressive picture of that user. And that is essentially what you want to build up. And you don't want any kind of hidden policies. They want to verify the things like returns, shipping, warranty. You make those things really obvious, usually in the footer, as a link on their own. Make it there, put it there, make it obvious what it is, that how they do these things. So what you need to build, so you want to make sure your landing pages are consistent. Ensure your product pages match the data in the AI agents. You want to make sure your on-site AI search continues that conversation. No more keyword search. You need to have natural language search, semantic search on-site. Basically customers need to be able to ask questions, solve their challenges. It's stepping away from product search and moving towards solving challenges, which could be something like, I'm looking for a dress for a wedding. I'm looking for how to fix a rusty bicycle chain. It's those kind of questions that they'll ask. And you need to be able to take those questions and turn them into products so that you essentially marry them up with products. So you're giving the right products for those questions. And if you can, also give them some supporting information to help them solve their challenge and have a better experience on that side as well. Because that's what they would have had with the LLMs, and that's why the LLMs are winning these interactions. So on-site AI search should continue that conversation. You've got the progressive AI recommendation systems I mentioned, so suggesting extras and your next buy progressively in real time. It's not the hello name, it's this is what I think you'll need next. So if they buy a product, do they need another product to go with it? If they bought a product, is there something else they would usually buy next that isn't necessarily the same products? It's like getting the AI to use a bit of common sense for an AI. Interesting, but using a bit of logical steps to get to the next product that would be recommended. So you want those prominent trust signals, so things like reviews, return policies, security badges, all of those things. You want them in there very nice and clear above the fold where you can. And so yeah, in kind of the hero for those kind of those top social trust signals. Mobile first checkout. So you want to have audiences are now disproportionately mobile. So stop designing for desktop as your first port of call. Mobile is what matters. Obviously, it does depend on your unique analytics situation, but for the vast majority, mobile is now the default browser. That's what we should be testing in most of the time. It's the experience we should be optimizing for. Page speed look for a page speed under 2 seconds to load. When I say load, basically you're looking for under 2 seconds to have. There's a few key metrics here that your engineering team will need to look into, but they are first contentful paint, which is the time you start seeing things on the page. It is largest contentful paint, which is like the biggest media asset usually, so things like the video or hero image, that kind of thing. And then you've got time to interactive, which is the time when users can start seeing the site. That is really, for UX, that is what comes first. There's some other web vital metrics that are important. Things like, there's one called cumulative layout shift, which basically means as the page loads, do things jump about on the page as they kind of kind of load suddenly and shift content down and that sort of thing. You want to avoid that. Pages can be loaded so those areas are preset, and that way when content loads, it doesn't jump down the page. So these are things for your engineering team to look at, and it's definitely worth highlighting with them and making sure that those are being thought of. Priority 3 is to convert with intelligence. You want on-site AI that outperforms those AI agents. So the difference here. So essentially, there's external AI agents have a very general knowledge. Your on-site AI has your own product knowledge, your stock levels, your policies, your expertise, what your brand stands for, deeper levels of kind of information about your products and supporting information, and the experience that you want to give that user. So there is a big difference here between those two. You're not going to have the kind of real-time inventory at SKU level. You've got real-time stock size, color, location on site, things like what the users did before. So you've got session aware, you know what they viewed before, you know what they searched. It's building that picture of the user. You've got compatible products, so the upsells, the things you'll also need. AIs are unlikely to recommend everything you might need in your journey. You know your products and your customers better than AI does. It's up to you to build that journey for them. Then you've got kind of margin aware bundle recommendations. You know your margins, where the AI doesn't. So you can bundle things together, get a greater sale, and still make it worthwhile. Whereas the AI is not going to know how to do that. You've got order context for support queries. You know about the order. You can help them with any kind of support. AI doesn't do after sales support. This is where a big part of the trust gap is being lost. And things like loyalty programs. So you can offer better deals for on-site conversions than what you give to the LLMs, and encourage users to come through to your site. And it's providing all of those things. It's understanding what the user is really looking to achieve. That this is years of UX optimization that we have on site now. The LLMs can't just come along and replace that. It's things like having your on-site AI, having smart areas, so it can say, I can see you're looking at a blue version. We also have it in a color that's trending this week, and it's in stock in your size, in your area. And based on your basket, you'll also need this compatible accessory. 33% of customers also add this. Your order qualifies for next day delivery if you complete checkout in the next 2 hours. It's those kind of little things that guide the user to that purchase. And there is good data behind this for on-site optimization. AI-powered search users, they convert at 3 times the rate. You've got 15% of users who are using site search. They generate 45% of revenue on average. And conversational commerce, when you've integrated that, users are 60% more likely to purchase. The data is there supporting this. There is a good case study. It's not e-commerce, but Klarna. So they had an on-site AI that handled 2/3 of their customer service chats. It's equivalent to 700 agents for them, and it saved them $40 million or something. I think it's 32 million pounds thereabouts. Yeah, it's saving, creating a better experience, and overall just adopting these things and taking the next step. So this is one we did for direct ferries. Basically, you can drop in what you want to book a ferry. Essentially, booking a ferry, there's a lot to think about. Whether you've got trailers, roof racks, can you take your dog, all those sort of things. We built a conversational experience for them that enables you to just drop in a question, and it will, in real time, find the routes that match your questions. It will also ask follow-up questions if anything is needed. And it's a truly agentic commerce experience. You've got a case study here that kind of outlines everything we did. It's a real, this is far ahead of what everyone else is doing, and it is definitely the insights that are generated from having something like this and the questions that people ask, because you get, when you're using the typical search and click behavior, you get quantitative data. You see how things happen in bulk. When you have people asking questions, you get truly qualitative data. You understand why they're there, the challenges they're trying to solve. Are they comparing products? Are they looking at different avenues, different providers? Did they see something cheaper elsewhere? You might get all of that in one chat. And yeah, it's real interesting information that you can then use to target your products to your customers better, to develop new products and new content to support it as well. Cool. So for the cycle, so the goal is to really feed the agents with that clean data. And this is how you gain that advantage. So feed the agents that clean data, make sure they recommend you more often. So that is writing the right content, making sure your data is structured. You want to win the visit with fast, consistent pages, convert them on with on-site intelligence. So using agents on-site, and actually, but then with the stats, increasing your revenue, reducing the amount of returns you have to do, and yeah, learn from your data. It's a far higher quality audience that's visiting your site from the LLMs. So yeah, you want to be making sure that you're converting them better. Yeah, improve your structured data, refine your AI, and the agents will recommend you more. Each step compounds. Brands that start now and build that advantage it's going to be increasingly difficult for competitors to close. So for some quick wins, I would say audit your schema markup on your top 50 product pages. I'll just stop sharing. But yeah, order your schema markup on top 50 product pages. You can do that very quickly. It's usually around about a week. So it's low investment, and that makes sure that the AI agents can read and recommend your products. I would test your site on 3 AI platforms: ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini. You can do that in about a day, just to understand what the AI agents are currently saying about you. You want to make sure your product data matches across site with feeds and APIs, making sure that's all consistent so that the agents can build trust in your data, making sure your mobile page speed is reduced to under 2 seconds. This can be done relatively quickly, depending on the site, sometimes as little as kind of a week or two. It depends how much stuff you've got on page. There are ways of optimizing videos to be super lightweight now using AI. There's essentially the amount of tracking pixels you might have on site. Once you trim it down and actually start looking at it at a real, like, we have to get this below 2 seconds, you start making cuts that will essentially, you may cut some of those things, but your conversion rate is going to be boosted. So there is a typical 4.42% gain per second saved on conversion rates. So yeah, 4.42% conversion rate increase gain per every second saved on average, depending on the stats you look at. They're all around about there. Yeah, and structured data. So you want to have that added to your FAQ schema. So on your top 20 product pages, you can do that very quickly, about a week. So AI agents will then be able to extract and cite that FAQ content directly. Then you've got your bigger investments. So this is where you might want to do a AI-powered natural language site search. That can typically be integrated in around about 4 to 8 weeks. So you're looking at a 3x conversion increase, typically, according to Algolia. And yeah, it continues the AI conversation on site. Essentially enables those natural language questions. You've got a universal commerce protocol integration. So it's early days yet, but it's probably reckoning around about 6 to 12 weeks. So that's making sure products are available inside Google AI mode, in Gemini, and in all the partner services. You've got your conversational commerce assistants on site. They're typically around about an 8-week project. So you will then have a 60%. The result is typically a 60%. Users are 60% more likely to purchase. And you've got massively reduced support costs in there as well if you have a support line. Real-time product data APIs, I would add those in. Agents always need to have current pricing, stock, and availability. That varies depending on kind of your product complexity and such, but yeah, it can typically be done in a few weeks. And on-site personalization engines. So this is a larger project, but the results are significantly larger as well. So you can have up to a 270% engagement lift, having that kind of session-based, no login required, progressive enhanced data capture and personalization of the website for the user's intent, for what they're searching for. So questions. So should we be trying to sell through AI agents directly or focus on our own site? So I ran this kind of last week as well. So the trust data is quite clear. You've got 70% already have comfort with AI purchases, and 95% have that manual verification step. So for high value or complex products, your website is still going to be where that conversion happens. So use the AI agents for discovery, make sure you've got good content, making sure you get them recommended, and use your site for conversion. Expect that is still going to be the avenue. You still need to publish the content on your site to get it quoted by the LLMs. But essentially, don't expect a huge amount of people to be reading your blogs on site. It's going to be the AI. And this will shift over time. But for 2026, I would say optimize for AI referred traffic landing on your site. It's high quality traffic that's going to be coming through to that site. And how do we measure whether AI agents are recommending us? Test monthly. So ask ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Claude, what is the best your product category in the UK? See if you appear. Check Google Search Console for AI referral traffic, and look at the kind of the zero-party data. Asking your customers, how did you hear about us, for every inquiry. Adobe data shows that AI referrals are measurable and growing 693% year on year. And you can there's tools you can use. There's SEMrush, there's Profound that enable you to see how you show up in the LLMs. So yeah, get your analytics team on it and get some masters that way. So what is the minimum investment to make our product catalog AI readable? So start with structured data, the JSON schema markup for your top 50 product pages. It costs nothing really but developer time, a couple of weeks. And then, clean your product feed so that your descriptions are factual. They're not just marketing copy. And this alone is going to make you more readable to agents than probably 90% of competitors. Is the Universal Commerce Protocol relevant for non-Shopify brands? So yes, it's relevant. UCP is an open standard. It's not a Shopify feature. Google published it in collaboration with Etsy, Wayfair, Target, Walmart. Any brand can implement UCP regardless of their e-commerce platform. AI's Agentic plan is just one route. You've got direct API integration as another. So if you're on Magento or some other e-commerce framework or platform, you'll be covered. But yeah, so the bottom line from today, really, Agentic commerce went from theoretical to operational this week. Google and Shopify published the protocol. MasterCard processed the first AI agent payment. Debenhams launched the first UK pilot, and Bloomberg told your board that it's happening. The numbers are confirming this shift. The 693% growth in AI retail traffic, 4,700% growth in AI shopping searches, the 3 to 5 trillion redirected by 2030. But the trust gap is real. So 58% search research with AI, only 17% buy through it. But that's 17% of the audience you need to be catering for. 95% are still going to verify manually, so make sure that information is clear, and the conversion happens on your website, not inside ChatGPT for most products. For commodity products, you're probably going to be able to convert inside ChatGPT. 3 priorities there. Feed the agents with clean, structured data, so they recommend you. Win the visit with fast, consistent mobile pages. Convert them with on-site intelligence that external agents just can't match. And the brands that start now and build that advantage, that's going to compound. The ones that will wait will discover their competitors have already done this. If you'd like to get specific help on anything we covered today, we can provide these solutions through a high-touch agile partnership that other firms can't really replicate. So you can start by applying for our AI audit. We'll review your product data, schema, markup, AI readiness, your site experience, and identify what will actually move the needle to map out priorities. I hate that phrase, move the needle, but yeah, what will move the needle to map out priorities. 30 minutes. It's 30 minutes call to start with, just to get an idea, and it's application only. So I'll drop in the AI audit request into the chat if anyone is interested. And if you want to stay informed, we've got our weekly strategy breakdowns for DCC leaders in our weekly newsletter. It's kind of this level of depth in different topics. I'll drop that newsletter in the chat as well, so they're both in there as well for anyone who's interested. Cool. So that's it for today. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, and until next time. Thanks.